greatest grudge fights in history. And now here is your host in our HBO studios in New York, Barry Tompkins.
Hello everybody, I'm Barry Tompkins and welcome to Boxing's Best. Over the next hour, we're going to be talking about grudge fights. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier will join us right here on our HBO studios to talk about their three great fights. We'll talk about Lewis and Schmeling, Pep and Sadler, Graziano and Zale, and a whole lot more than that. With us is our resident boxing expert here at HBO, Larry Merchant. And Larry, let me ask you simply, what makes a grudge fight?
I suppose a broad definition would be that aside from the fact that the two men are trying to knock each other's heads off, they don't like each other. I'm brought back to my favorite grudge fight of all time in Philadelphia years ago when one bricklayer said to another bricklayer on the job, "You're a lousy bricklayer." A local club fight promoter heard about it, put them in the ring for 4 rounds, caused a sensation. Well, the grudge fights we're going to look at today are that kind of thing writ large.
You know, I have talked to countless professional fighters about that very thing. Do you really dislike the other guy? Do you have to build up an intense hate? They always say, no, I have a great deal of respect. I really like the guy a lot. And yet that is obviously not true.
Well, there is always a mutual respect in the ring because nobody knows what the pain is of going through a prize fight except the fighters. But obviously personal feelings do enter into it on many occasions. Ali and Frazier was a perfect example of a conflict in styles and personalities. It's a battle over turf, championships, neighborhood championships, whatever. It may be a battle over money. One guy's getting more money than the other guy, and the other guy doesn't like it. It could be almost anything like that. Roberto Duran, he made a grudge fight of every fight because he had to work himself up for that. I think we should remember that compared to other sports, any fight is a grudge fight.
Well, maybe the first big money grudge fight took place after World War I. Jack Dempsey was the champion. He had defended only 5 times, and he had to literally be talked into the ring with a promise of a $475,000 guarantee to fight a popular light heavyweight champion by the name of Gene Tunney.
September 23rd, 1926. After 3 years of idleness, Jack Dempsey defended his heavyweight crown against a tough ex-Marine named Gene Tunney. The 31-year-old Manasseh Moeller was in poor physical condition, having arrived for the fight sick to his stomach. Dempsey's handlers wanted the fight called off, but 120,000 fans gathered in Philadelphia to see Gene Tunney put an end to Dempsey's glorious reign.
Champion Jack Dempsey to the right has been after Gene Tunney relentlessly. Here in the 10th and final round, Gene continues to outspeed, outbox, and outmaneuver the ever-dangerous Manasseh Moeller. At the end of this final round, the slick-boxing Tunney takes a unanimous decision.
After the fight, Dempsey announced his retirement. Jack's manager, Gene Normeal, claimed his fighter was poisoned. Tunney called the charges trash. Then in 1927, Tex Rickard convinced Jack Dempsey to avenge his bitter loss. 1 year later, the most controversial battle in boxing history was about to unfold. The gate amounted to $2.6 million, with Tunney's share reaching $1 million. On September 22nd, 1927, over 100,000 fans at Soldiers Field in Chicago witnessed the legendary long count.
Dempsey opens up, catching Tunney with his potent right hand, followed by a series of 7 devastating punches. Tunney goes down for the first time in his career. Dempsey stays near the fallen fighter. Referee Dave Barry waits for Jack to move to a neutral corner before he starts the count of 1. Is Tunney dazed or wisely taking full advantage of those precious extra seconds to recover? Tunney gets on his bicycle, trying to stay away from the rampaging Dempsey. The Manasseh Moeller wants his title back. Dempsey throwing punches from all angles. Tunney backpedaling, trying to clear the cobweb.
After the fight, controversy raged over the long count. Some ringsiders counted Tunney on the canvas for 18 seconds. We may never know if Tunney could have risen in time. Jack Dempsey said he didn't think so. In round 8, Dempsey was dropped from an overhand right. He was a beaten fighter. At the age of 32, Jack Dempsey knew the time had come for him to retire. Tex Rickard tried to make a third Dempsey-Tunney match, but it wasn't to be. 9 years later, the newest sensation of the heavyweight division was Joe Louis.